Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Winter storm warning for this weekend. The preparations to treat the roads and prepare for possible power outages.
I've been going over the computer models all morning, and I have the very latest snowfall totals. I'll show you how much you could see.
Happening now in the WRAL Live Center, we're following breaking news involving skier Lindsey Vonn crashing on a downhill course today. She had to be airlifted from that scene. That race was eventually canceled. We're monitoring the extent of these injuries and how this could affect her Olympic dreams.
A winter storm warning goes into effect in less than 4 hours. Thanks for joining us here at noon. I'm Laura Levine. We have team coverage as all of us brace for this snowstorm. Let's begin with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. And Elizabeth, we have new snowfall totals updated here.
I spent the last little while going over all of the runs of the computer models, and it looks like we're trending to see that heavier band of snow somewhere in eastern North Carolina. If you've been following along with this storm, this is going to come in bands of precipitation. It may remind you of a tropical system if you've ever lived through one of those around here. We see a heavy band of rain come through, and then it stops, and another heavy band. And so the snow may act like that as well, because it's going to be a coastal low. Again, sort of in the same setup, not quite the same, but similar to what might happen in the bands with a tropical system. So it looks like we're going to have widespread totals at around 3 to 6 inches. And then once you head a little farther eastward, mainly in eastern North Carolina, there may be a band that sets up with some heavier precipitation. Now, it's not a guarantee that that band is going to set up somewhere in eastern North Carolina, but the models have been trending that way. You know, if you can remember, back during Chantal, we had a very narrow band of 8 inches of rain around Durham and Chapel Hill. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a narrow band setting up somewhere in our viewing area, and it's trending in eastern North Carolina. So that's what's new. Where's that heavy band of snow going to be? The computer models have been really all over the place, but a bit more consistent over the last 12 hours that it may be somewhere in eastern North Carolina. So that's what we're watching for. Even though we take a look at that snowfall map, don't take that too literally. That's just the area where we might see that heavier snowfall lining up. So winter storm warning, it goes into effect at 4 o'clock and lasts until Sunday morning. This is a look at Futurecast. We are cloudy now ahead of this system, and we'll see the potential for a little bit of light patchy snow starting at around dinner time in our northern counties. And then once we get to midnight, it starts to fill in everywhere. And then it just keeps on going. This is 7 a.m. on Saturday. This is 4 p.m. on Saturday. This is 10 p.m. on Saturday. And then after that, early in the morning on Sunday, it begins to pull away. We are also looking at a cold weather advisory with wind chills in the single digits for tomorrow. Look at this. Tomorrow, the wind chill will be somewhere between 8 at 9 a.m. and 10 at 2 p.m. And then we also have an extreme cold watch for Sunday. I'll show you what those wind chills will look like coming up in just a little bit. We'll talk about the coastal impacts too, which could be pretty high.
Okay, Elizabeth, thank you. Governor Josh Stein wrapped up a briefing in the last hour. Ken Smith is in the WRAL Live Center with some of the key takeaways the governor had to say about statewide preps. Ken.
You know, Laura, the governor was quick to acknowledge that these two back-to-back storms are really taxing on everyone, from state DOT crews to the highway patrol, everyone out there keeping us safe. But he says, though, everyone recognizes that they have a job to do, and they're on it. The governor says resources have been deployed to all corners of the state, particularly, as Elizabeth just mentioned, the Outer Banks and other parts of the coast that could see significant amounts of snow. Now, because of the bone-chilling cold accompanying this storm, Governor Stein had this piece of advice for anyone who has to drive or be outside for any length of time.
Make sure that you are well dressed, wearing lots of leathers and covering all exposed skin. If you have to drive and there is snow, make sure that you have a safety package in the car with you, because if you run off the road in temperatures like that, it can be very dangerous.
Well, the governor says all state emergency agencies are operating 24/7, including the National Guard. Laura?
Working around the clock. Thank you, Ken. Well, about 2 hours ago, we heard from the DOT ahead of this winter storm. They tell WRAL while crews are still actively cleaning up after last weekend's winter weather, they are prepared for tomorrow. WRAL's Willie Daniely spoke to a DOT engineer, and he joins us now live. And Willie, tell us, what are crews doing to prepare and get ready for this weekend?
Well, Laura, in addition to taking care of those icy spots that are still lingering behind from the winter weather last weekend, crews have been out brining the roads in preparation of the snow that could fall starting tonight. So far, they put out around 320,000 gallons of brine. We're told that push crews who are equipped with snow plows are ready to hit the roads tonight as soon as we begin to see that snow start falling. There are about 135 DOT plow trucks, 145 contract trucks, and around 50 to 60 pieces of heavy equipment to remove deeper snow that have been prepared. NCDOT Division 5 engineer Doug McNeil says although they are expecting for the roads not to be icy, they want people to stay indoors.
But we just hope everybody stays home. Tomorrow's not going to be a particularly nice day, but Sunday with some snow on the ground and sunny, there's going to be a lot of temptation to come out. Please avoid being out on the roads if you don't have to be, and we'll systematically work at reopening everything.
One thing that is important to remember is NCDOT is not responsible for maintaining every road in the state. If you feel like your road has not been plowed or treated, it's possible that your town or city is responsible for that road. You can visit NCDOT's website to see a complete list of those state-maintained roads. Willie Danley, WRAL News, Raleigh.
Let's talk a little bit about the roads here now. We are joined live on the phone by Wake County Deputy Devin Richardson. Thank you so much for joining us here. What can you tell us about how your department has really been preparing over the last few days to get ready for this weekend?
Well, first of all, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. They've been doing this preparation long before the storm ever came, making sure we have the right vehicles in place, making sure we can respond to that appropriately with all-wheel drives. We go out and monitor the roads currently. As you know, the effect of having tows immediately is in effect now. And so we're monitoring those roads to get those off. A lot of state representation has been really helpful in already going out, like the DOT has said, and just making sure that we're getting forward and getting the right resources out has been really, really pivotal. We've had a lot of coordination with our garage to make sure our vehicles are up and running. They're actually running 24 hours for us to support us, and so we've got a lot of good state and local assistance.
How has the lingering impacts from this previous storm really impacted the efforts to prepare for this storm? And are there any trouble areas that you're really seeing right now in Wake County?
Well, like I said, the state has responded great. Last time, a lot of people did what we asked them to do and stayed inside, and we cannot say we appreciate it enough. So kind of really everything in law enforcement is always changing and evolving, and we actually really appreciate that previous experience to see kind of the things we can do better. But the best thing is that the people stayed inside, they listened to what was going out, and now based on that, we're able to move forward and make sure those kind of side roads that we didn't see before are getting taken care of. But honestly, ma'am, the state is really coming through, and they've done a lot of prep work already.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. Are there any lessons learned from last weekend that you all are really taking into this weekend?
Honestly, having the right equipment out there was massive. Our garage doing our 24-hour evaluations was great. And really just being able to get that information out. I mean, to just keep it simple, I mean, there's not a whole lot of things besides the fact that people listened. Yeah. And I think, like what's said already, having something in your car if you do have to go somewhere. And, if you're not sure, a lot of people haven't driven in these conditions, so you can get up to speed real easy, but all of a sudden you try to stop, and it's an issue. So I would say make sure that if you have to go somewhere, just please be careful and make sure that those curves, you take it really slow and safe. And because they're trying to take care of the major highways mostly, so if you can, try to get to a major location if you have to go somewhere instead of staying off the side roads. That's the biggest thing I can say we learned for sure.
That is the main message for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Deputy Devin Richardson. We appreciate you all. Please stay safe out there.
Thank you. God bless.
Well, all of this winter storm prep means back-to-back weekends of long shifts for a lot of the same crews in the Triangle. WRAL's Grace Haba shows us how that work has already started in Wake County.
Traffic for now flowing well here in Raleigh, and among these cars, salt trucks also making their way around, preparing the roads as crews prepare for yet another busy winter weather weekend. Many Wake County municipalities like Garner and Zebulon will have a lot of those same people back out here for this storm, just like they did last weekend. And this time, preparing for more snow instead of ice is keeping those crews busy.
We took a brief pause for a few days, maybe a day and a half or so, and geared back up. So where our crews are holding up pretty well. You try to make certain in these times you're doing the work that you need to do and things that can wait. Let it wait till next week.
Officials say one of the best ways you at home can help the crews that will be out here dealing with this winter weather is to stay home, stay off the roads unless it's absolutely necessary. In Wake County, Grace Haba, WRAL News.
And staying off the roads during this winter weather event is definitely the safest option. However, not everyone can and not everyone will. That's why North Carolina Highway Patrol is preparing their response plan this weekend. So we spoke with Highway Patrol Sergeant Marcus Bethea this morning about what troopers will be doing over the next few days.
It's very important to let others know, first of all, where you're going to be. We've had some situations this past weekend where folks were stranded and family members and loved ones simply didn't know where they were, that they had even left. So it's very important to get that buddy system involved and start to let others know where you plan to go. Make sure your cell phone is charged, make sure your vehicle has fuel, make sure your spare tire has air in it. You'd be surprised how many people drive around and have never used their spare tire, sometimes in years. And the one time that they need it, it simply isn't inflated.
And Sergeant Bethea says the Highway Patrol did not have to respond to a single deadly accident anywhere in the state during last weekend's winter weather event, all because people heeded the warning to stay off the roads. Today, President Trump named his pick for the next Federal Reserve chair. The president has nominated former Federal Reserve official Kevin Warsh. Warsh would replace current chair Jerome Powell when his term expires in May. The appointment requires Senate confirmation. Now, Warsh was a surprising choice because he typically supports higher interest rates to control inflation. Lowering rates is the main difference in opinion between the president and current chairman Jerome Powell. So investors are preparing for a little volatility as this announcement has been made today. Taking a look at what we're seeing here, the S&P 500 fell 0.7%, while the NASDAQ shed 0.9%. The Dow Jones down 477 points, or about 1%. Of course, we're going to keep monitoring the stock market throughout the day. Next at noon, mixed messages a day after President Trump's border czar said that he plans to withdraw some federal agents from Minnesota. The president says that's not happening. Also, former CNN journalist arrested. Why police in California came for former anchor Don Lemon and the charges he faces. Plus, a bad tumble. What we're learning about the skiing crash that injured Olympic star Lindsey Vonn.
Coming up next, sea storms moving in with WRAL's exclusive Dual Doppler 5000, sponsored by the WRAL Weather app. Download now for live radar.
The civil trial of an influential insurance magnate is underway in Wake County Court, and already some fireworks. It's tied to a case involving Greg Lindbergh. He's the Durham businessman who was once North Carolina's biggest political donor. 2 years ago, he pleaded guilty to fraud and a $2 billion money laundering scheme tied to his life insurance empire. Now he's trying to block payments to tens of thousands of policy holders who lost money in the scheme. Judge Graham Shirley told Lindbergh's lawyers today that a ruling in his favor would be an affront to policyholders, saying that it would be like, quote, holding up two middle fingers. The hearing is ongoing in Wake Superior Court. You can find updates at WRAL.com. President Trump told reporters the administration has no plans to reduce the number of federal agents in Minneapolis. As Maggie Vespa reports, the statement appears to contradict comments from his border czar, who said only yesterday that he intends to withdraw some resources.
Hey there, lots of changes here in the last 24 hours. We will start with the president's apparent pivot, appearing to dash just hours-old hopes at that point that at least some federal officers might be leaving Minneapolis, telling reporters overnight, quote, we'll do whatever we can to keep our country safe. But when asked to clarify whether the administration is indeed pulling officers back, he answered, no, not at all. This less than 12 hours after Board Czar Tom Homan announced plans to start drawing down resources, adding he's in Minneapolis because the mission has not gone, quote, perfectly. Also new overnight, embattled DHS Secretary Kristi Noem speaking out about the shooting of ICU nurse Alex Preddy by federal officers and asked if she could have handled things differently with that initial statement that DHS put out that labeled Preddy a domestic terrorist. She said, "We believe we can always do better and seek to do that every day." So amid all of this kind of confusion and these changes here on the ground, protests obviously continuing, with organizers calling for a nationwide day of action, both school walkouts and economic blackouts today and tomorrow. We're seeing events planned from LA to Atlanta to New York and, of course, several here in the Minneapolis area. Back to you.
Well, journalist Don Lemon has been arrested after he entered a Minnesota church and recorded anti-immigration enforcement protesters who disrupted a service. Lemon was taken into custody by federal agents in Los Angeles, where he had been covering the Grammy Awards. It is unclear what charges Lemon is facing in the January 18th protests. The arrest came after a magistrate judge last week rejected prosecutors' initial bid to charge the journalist. Lemon said that he was there as a journalist chronicling protesters.
Happening now in the WRAL Live Center, we continue to follow the breaking news involving skier Lindsey Vonn. She had to be airlifted from this downhill race earlier this morning. She was seen clutching her left knee. Now, just a short time ago, Vonn posted on social media that my Olympic dream is not over. She thanked everybody for their love and support. We all know that Vonn has battled knee injuries over the years. She's had 9 surgeries. She is scheduled to perform at the Winter Olympics on February 8th. We'll keep you posted. You can watch it all right here on WRAL.
And we are wishing a speedy recovery. Thank you so much, Ken. Well, right now we are here in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. And Elizabeth, there is so much to track this weekend. But of course, the snow totals that we're looking at, it really depends on where you live. There could be pockets where more people could see more snow.
That's right. This is going to be an interesting one. It's not going to be a blanket of snow across our area that is equal. You know, a lot of times we think about, well, down south, it's oftentimes a mix. And so some of our southern counties see less snow and Roxborough sees all the snow. It's not going to be like that this time. We are going to see some bands of snow move in. And if you happen to find yourself under one of those heavy bands, then you're going to have the best chance of seeing some of those heavier totals. Measurable snow starts tonight. What we're looking at right now is just looking at the models really like for the last 2 hours. And it looks like the heavy snow band is trending east. So it may be anywhere from the Triangle area eastward, or honestly, it could be anywhere. The models are pushing it in that direction right now, so that's the best that we know. Measurable snow starts late tonight, most likely after midnight. We may end up with a dusting or so, especially from the Triangle area northward before midnight. The roads, the snow will stick to the roads very quickly because it's been so cold. So if you're planning to head out this evening, keep your eye on your WRAL weather app and look at the radar. And if it looks like the snow is coming down, then you may want to go ahead and try to make it home. You can already see some echoes of snow up to our north into Virginia. But most likely the first part of this is going to evaporate before it reaches the ground. This is a look at our new snowfall totals. We're still looking at widespread totals across our area at 3 to 6 inches. There is a small bust forecast that could happen with dry air trying to sneak in from the north, and that could limit the totals to as much as 1 to 2 inches in some parts of the viewing area. So we'll be watching for that. But again, at this point, I think most likely we'll have widespread 3 to 6 inches. And then somebody's going to see a band of heavier precipitation. Some of that could be at the coast. We could see a band of that along and east of I-95, or it could be a little bit farther to the west. It's just really hard to say. This is one version of Futurecast that shows where that band could end up. But again, that is definitely not the final word. We do, of course, have a winter storm warning that goes into effect at 4 o'clock. And it's not just the snow that we're looking at. We're looking at windy conditions developing for tomorrow. And that could bring us to near blizzard conditions. We really see a lot of snow falling at around 7 a.m. There's 4 p.m. More snow falling at 10 p.m. But notice it starts to taper off late on Saturday night, early on Sunday morning. And then we're done with it, and it just turns bitterly cold. This is a look at our potential wind gusts this morning. We've seen some gusts up to around 15 to 20. And then once we get into Saturday night, that's when the winds really start to gust. At 10 a.m. tomorrow, we're looking at 25 to 30 mile per hour gusts, but we're likely to have winds gusting potentially to close to 40 miles per hour in the eastern part of the viewing area. That's really going to blow around a whole lot of snow. It's also going to bring us some very cold wind chills. So for tomorrow, we have a cold weather advisory. and then an extreme cold watch for Sunday. So we'll talk more about those numbers. I'm going to walk you through hour by hour and show you what that'll feel like. Definitely looking at a stout winter storm in our forecast, and as cold as it will be afterwards, that snow may stick around for a while.
Elizabeth, thank you. Coming up on our news this afternoon, sled safety. This weekend storm will give plenty of families a rare opportunity to hop on some sleds and have fun. Without the right preparation, though, injuries can happen fast. Tonight at 4, 5 on Your Side shares the best ways to stay safe. Plus, mistrial declared. A jury couldn't determine if Isaiah Ross killed 14-year-old Lyric Woods. We get legal insight into what's next for prosecutors tonight at 5. And coming up now, Saks Fifth Avenue bankruptcy. Stores closing across the country. How the famous high-end retailer got here. Also, most turbulent flights. A website ranks the bumpiest rides of last year. Find out which U.S. routes were the roughest. Looking fantastic is about to cost more money, and one company found big security problems with iPhone apps. Those are among today's business headlines with Maribel Aber.
It's about to get harder to buy Saks clothes at a discount. The retailer announced it's closing most of its Saks Off Fifth locations. Also closing are all 5 Last Call stores, leaving Saks discount portfolio with just 12 Off Fifths remaining open. The move comes less than 3 weeks after the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. It now plans to focus on its luxury brands Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, and Bergdorf Goodman. iPhones may be less secure than Android. Cyber News says the problem lies in apps that can be downloaded directly from Apple. The security research firm found nearly 3/4 of those apps can leak things like passwords. It also says more than 78,000 apps can expose things like photos and receipts on cloud servers. Cyber News recommends sticking to apps from well-known developers. Costco is famous for its $5 rotisserie chicken, but you may be getting more than you think. A proposed lawsuit claims the wholesaler put food additives in it. That's a problem because the Warehouse Club advertises its chicken contains no preservatives. Costco says the 2 additives are approved and they help the chicken cook and keep it moist. It's removed the claim that no preservatives are used. And those are your business headlines. I'm Maribel Aber at the NASDAQ Market Site.
A website that tracks flight turbulence has released its list of the world's roughest routes last year. Listen to this. The top spot goes to the short hop from Mendoza, Argentina to Santiago, Chile, a 1-hour flight that cuts through a mountainous region. Turbally also ranks Santiago as the most turbulent airport in the world. In North America, the roughest route is Denver to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And other bumpy U.S. airports include Bozeman, Montana, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Salt Lake City, Utah. Turbally says its founder is an engineer who realized his turbulence expertise could help ease the fears of anxious flyers. We have more news just ahead now. Raleigh prepares for this winter storm, how the city is getting ready for what's likely to be several inches of snow, and caring for your car. The bitter cold is going to linger, and we'll share the best ways to make sure your ride remains reliable. And here are the winning lottery numbers. Good luck. We have a winter storm warning starting at 4 p.m. today, and we're making sure you know everything required to stay safe. Let's check back in with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. Elizabeth.
We're going to start off with a satellite and radar, the big picture, and you could definitely see some snow that started to fall across parts of Kentucky and even into Virginia. It's going to be a while before we see any of it here, but we are starting to see it take shape. The low pressure system that's really going to fuel this hasn't started to form, and that makes this forecast very challenging. If it's a system that's already formed, we can collect a lot of data from it, put them into the computer model, and get a much better idea of what's going to happen. So still expecting as much as 3 to 6 inches across our viewing area widespread, but it's not going to be an even blanket of snow. We're going to end up with some patches where we may see some bursts of snow, some different bands of snow that set up. And the best chance for some of the higher totals is going to be really along and east of I-95. But that's not a promise of where that will set up. We could see it setting up anywhere. Just the models are trending into eastern North Carolina. Carolina. So from late tonight into Saturday, we're going to see periods of heavy snow on and off. We're certainly looking at dangerous cold, single-digit wind chills for Saturday, and then maybe down to -5 on Sunday. That's daytime. That's not even during the night necessarily. You want to stay off the road, and you may not be able to get out of the airport. Winds are going to be gusting 25 to 35 miles per hour, and from time to time, it may feel like a whiteout out there. We take a look at Raleigh right now, and we are cloudy and windy too. We're looking at only 30 degrees. We have a wind out of the northeast at 5 miles per hour. And it's gusting a little higher than that, looking at 25 right now for the wind chill in Raleigh. It feels like 23 in Rocky Mount. What's next? We're going to see some light snow developing across our area this evening, especially up to the north. Bands of heavy snow on Saturday, and we're going to talk more about the dangerous wind chills and some coastal impacts coming up.
Elizabeth, thank you. Raleigh road crews say that they are ready for the second round of winter weather and are aware there are still some icy spots on the roads that will now be covered with snow. The city's transportation department says it plans to have plows out to push the snow as soon as it starts accumulating and follow that with a treatment with salt. Crews are resting up now to work overnight and through the weekend, and they've got their plan down to a science.
It takes about 10 hours with our 12 trucks, but we've got it down to where everybody knows what their responsibility is, and it's kind of become a well-oiled machine.
And they say it takes 57 gallons of brine per snow event, and they treat more than 700 miles of streets. Now, he does ask there, like last weekend, for drivers to stay off the roads as much as they can so crews can plow them easily. The DOT has already been busy brining the roads ahead of the snow. The department has 135 trucks and 155 additional contractors out on the roads spreading brine. They've already sprayed more than 225,000 gallons of brine across the state, and they'll continue this afternoon and evening. Spokesperson Kim Diener says the DOT is going to throw every tool that they have in the toolbox at this storm.
And even though it is going to be easier to get off the roads than the last storm, because this will be a light, fluffy snow, the more we get, the longer it's going to take. So if we could get 3 to 6 inches, it will probably go much faster than it did last time. But if we see those higher totals, like 8 to 10 or higher, those higher totals is going to be another marathon cleanup.
And Diener says during the cleanup, the department is going to make sure to arrange shifts in such a way that workers can get the rest that they need to continue that potential marathon cleanup. Duke Energy had thousands of outages across the state during last weekend's ice storm. Fortunately, this weekend won't see as much ice on power lines. Even so, Duke Energy spokesperson Jeff Brooks tells us the utility is still coming up with a strategy to respond to any outages this weekend. An important part of that planning is making sure line workers are well rested and ready.
So our crews right now are going through their normal preparations, getting their trucks restocked, getting the inventory checked. They'll kind of have a little break this afternoon, this evening, and be ready to go into play tomorrow as any outages appear.
And he says while freezing rain won't be as much of a concern this time, the high winds that are coming with this winter storm could still pull down some power lines. Well, the Durham Fire Department now is increasing its staffing for this weekend. They're adding a firefighter to every ladder truck and a minimum of 4 people in rescue vehicles. The trucks will be outfitted with cables and chains to help them drive through icy conditions. Deputy Chief Chris Ananzu says that they have to be just as careful as everyone else. And of course, the Durham Rescue Mission is extending Operation Rescue. 3 outreach teams will be deployed this morning from the mission's campus on East Main Street. The Durham Rescue Mission is also expanding its capacity, making additional beds and resources available. During today's outreach, teams will also distribute bags of hope, care packages containing socks, snacks, hand warmers, water, and information about the mission services. Warm shelter, hot meals, and essential services will continue to be offered for as long as freezing temperatures persist. Ravenscroft School is postponing its Celebration of Life event for Zoe Welsh once again after and because of this weekend's winter weather. She was a teacher at the school. Investigators say that she was attacked in her home during a break-in last month and died at the hospital. The event was originally scheduled for last week, but that was postponed because of winter weather. It will now be held March 29th at 3 p.m. at the Jones Theater. Business owners around the area say that the two back-to-back winter weather weekends will hurt their business. Weekends are the busiest times for most businesses, and Cafe Luna co-owner Brent Thompson says they shut down last Saturday and will likely have to tomorrow as well. The closures are especially tough on service industry employees who rely on tips to make ends meet.
Especially at the end of the month, a lot of guys have rent to pay soon. A lot of guys are paying off holiday credit card debt. So I really feel for them. I've reached out to all of them these last couple days as we prepare for this weekend too, and we'll help them the best we can.
And restaurants are not the only businesses feeling the impact. Retailers say the weather has hurt their margins as well. Those business owners say that you can support local by making online orders or buying gift cards. You can count on WRAL to bring you updates on the forecast and preparations no matter where you watch. Stay connected with us on TV, online, and with the WRAL News app anytime. Turn on those notifications to get alerts right to your phone. Genetics and life expectancy. A new study shows your DNA may play a much larger role in how you live. Just ahead, why the researchers say this is still no reason to skip exercise and eat unhealthy foods. And later winter weather excitement. If you're sick of skating and skiing, you may want to try some ice climbing in Western North Carolina. Nash County health leaders are warning about a potential measles exposure. A child tested positive after visiting the UNC Health Nash Emergency Department on Tuesday. The child was unvaccinated and traveling from another country. Anyone who has and was at the emergency department between 9 a.m. through 11 p.m., that's on Tuesday night or Tuesday, might have been exposed. Health leaders say that and ask that you monitor any symptoms. President Trump signed an executive order to coordinate the federal government's response to drug addiction and other substance abuse. Under this plan, federal agencies will be advised on how to best direct grants intended to support addiction recovery, along with ways to increase drug addiction awareness. The group will advise agencies on programs that deal with drug prevention, early intervention, and treatment. A new study says that genetics may account for up to half of a person's longevity. Earlier estimates range from 6 to 33%, but researchers say many past studies didn't factor in deaths from injuries, infectious diseases, or environmental conditions. By removing those external causes, scientists produced a clearer picture of genetics' true impact on lifespan. They add that lifestyle choices like diet and exercise still play a major role in living a long, healthy life. The study is published in the journal Science. In related news now, U.S. life expectancy has reached an all-time high. New CDC data shows that in 2024, life expectancy rose to 79 years, up half a year from 2023. Women continue to outlive men, with female life expectancy at about 81.4 years. Nationwide death rates dropped nearly 4%, hitting their lowest level since before the pandemic. The leading causes of death remained heart disease, cancer, and unintentional injuries. Winter weather car preparations. Now is the time to make sure that your car is ready for this weekend's snow. 5 on your side shares the steps that you can take before the weather moves in. Plus, reaching new heights while temperatures reach new lows. We'll show you how more adventurous outdoor enthusiasts are going ice climbing this week in Western North Carolina. Welcome back. We're taking a live look over the WRAL Azalea Gardens, and believe us when we tell you that this will look entirely different this time tomorrow as we're tracking the snow to move in our viewing area. Well, not everyone has the option to stay off the roads during winter weather. During snow events specifically, there are things that you can do to make your drive even safer. 5 on your side's Keely Arthur shares the steps that you should take before hitting the road.
Start by starting your car and its defrosters. Then obviously use a good ice scraper. Water can speed the process, but a caution, make sure it's only lukewarm. If it's too hot, you could crack the glass. As you begin to pour the water, work quickly to remove the ice. You can also buy de-icing spray, but our test found it wasn't very effective on this thick ice. The best option? prevention. Next time, cover your windows with a towel, sheet, or a piece of cardboard before dew or ice even arrives. Use your wipers to keep it in place. Then, when it's time to go, just pull it off. Now, as for if you end up with ice or snow on your rooftop, use a broom or some lukewarm water to help with that. You do not want to use an ice scraper because it could scratch your paint. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
Too much snow can be a big problem from certain buildings. I want you to take a look at this surveillance video here. A heavy load of ice and snow caused the roof to collapse on a fairgrounds rodeo arena in Arkansas. All fairground events are canceled until fair officials determine how to move forward. Luckily, no one was hurt. Incredible. Frigid temperatures can come with many challenges, but for some outdoor enthusiasts, well, they can also bring opportunities. As photojournalist Steve Wilder shows us, this is a great time to try ice climbing in Western North Carolina.
I got a lot of friends up in New Hampshire, and they're always blown away. They're like, that's really North Carolina? Wow. Climbing frozen water, which is kind of a crazy idea, right? A crazy concept. Kind of cool. It's the method of climbing. We're using these tools that we're stabbing into the ice. Notice each tool placement I test really well before I commit fully to it.
Well, I think that climbing, and especially the ice climbing in general, is just getting outside of your comfort zone.
Some winters little better than others. Like this winter is shaping up to be one of the best seasons we had.
You get a real sense of, a hit of dopamine out here. Your heart rate, just the feeling and everything. It's really just really thrilling.
Try not to get your tools too high, kind of like where they're at, and work your feet up now.
Heart's beating. You feel alive up here, I promise.
Beautiful views. Sure, you can go up to like Devil's Courthouse and get a similar view, but you're not gonna get this same view without getting up here and, climbing off the ground.
Wow, that is something to see. Well, in Western North Carolina, they're ice climbing, and here this time tomorrow, Elizabeth, a lot of people will just be making snow angels.
Yes, hopefully there'll be some sledding to be done. I know the kids want that, after we didn't get it last weekend. We weren't expecting to, but, it's kind of hard to have a wintry storm and then, not have snow to go along with it. So hopefully this will make some people happy. It never makes everyone happy, I know. This is a look at where some of that snow is starting to develop on the western part of Virginia, across parts of Kentucky, and into Tennessee, and it will continue to slide eastward. Now, here's what makes this so tricky. We're going to see a low developing off the coast, and it still hasn't developed yet. We're starting to see, of course, some convergence happening there, where different particles of air coming together here. And that's what's creating the snow just to our north. But once the low gets started, all of this will get cranked up, and the snow will start to come in bands across North Carolina. This is going to be tougher than some snowstorms. Winter weather is always on the tough side in North Carolina for a number of reasons, but this one's going to come in bands, and there'll be some heavy bands that set up, and it's just really hard to know exactly where they're going to set up. But the latest runs of the computer models for the last 6+ hours have really started to trend that to be farther east. I mean, logically it makes sense because that's where we're going to see the low, but it doesn't always logically make sense where the bands set up. If you can remember, back over the summer, Chantal set up a band of very heavy rain across Durham and Chapel Hill. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about with this storm. We're going to have some bands of really heavy snow that develop while other people just don't have those heavy totals. Let's go over Futurecast again just for the timing. This is 7 p.m. tonight. We start to see some snow. By the time we get to, say, early morning on Saturday, it should be covering the entire viewing area. But the heavy bands will work their way in from time to time, especially later in the day. That's 4 o'clock. This is 10 p.m. on Saturday. And then early in the morning, at least by 5 or 6, all of it should move on out. And the wind and the cold will be a big issue. This is going to be a big fluffy snow. So when the wind starts to howl tomorrow, it's really going to blow around a lot. But if you can get a shovel on it, it should be easier than a heavy snow. Sledding should be good. Snowmen, maybe not so much. It may not pack very well. So periods of heavy snow, we're going to see single-digit wind chills for tomorrow and negative wind chills on Sunday morning. Gusts 25 to 35 miles per hour. Here's our up cold weather advisory for tomorrow. It covers the entire viewing area. That wind chill is going to be in the single digits all day tomorrow. And then the extreme cold watch, we could see wind chills as low as 5 below. Look at this. For Sunday morning, minus 11 in Roxborough, minus 6 in Fayetteville, minus 4 in Durham. That is not messing around, y'all. You need to stay inside. This is a look at the high wind warning that we'll see from 4 p.m. Saturday to 1 p.m. Sunday along the coast. Gusts up to 60 miles per hour. That's like a tropical system. Heavy surf, coastal flooding, along Highway 12, and those very strong wind gusts are likely to do some damage along the coast. We're going to have windy conditions making for the tough wind chill, but we'll end up seeing winds a little bit lower than that. Looking at Friday, tonight, the snow moves in. It's with us Saturday night, and out on Sunday. Highs are only in the 20s for Saturday and Sunday, and then after that, we stay chilly at least through the middle of next week.
Elizabeth, thank you. Well, our team of meteorologists have been warning you about the dangers of stepping onto frozen ponds and lakes. Just ahead, how one dog learned that lesson the hard way and what happened next. As we wrap things up here, let's take a look at a few of the headlines we're following today. A winter storm warning goes into effect this afternoon. Governor Josh Stein gave an update on preparations today, saying resources are deployed to all corners of the state. Crews are brining roads ahead of the snowfall that could start tonight. They're also bringing out the snow plows ready to clear roads. There are hundreds of trucks, both DOT and contract, on standby to respond. This weekend, we won't see as much ice on power lines, which will hopefully lead to fewer outages. However, high winds coming with this winter storm could still pull down some lines. That's why Duke Energy is still coming up with a strategy to respond to any outages this weekend. The utility says crews are preparing now. You can count on WRAL to bring you updates on the forecast and preparations no matter where you watch. You can stay connected with us on air, online, and with the WRAL News app anytime. Make sure your notifications are turned on to get important alerts straight to your phone. Some kids at a YMCA in Iowa got a fun and tasty lesson this week. They rode stationary bikes to make smoothies. First, the children added ingredients like fruit, juice, honey, and yogurt to a blender. Then they connected the blender to a bike and started pedaling. The pedaling made the blades of the blender spin and combined the ingredients. Organizers say that it's a good way for the kids to work together and to meet different people in the community. We love that. A family's dog in Georgia now found itself in frigid waters, unable to get out. This happened yesterday morning. Authorities said the dog had walked onto a frozen pond, but the ice was too shallow. The dog fell into the water about 25 feet from the shore. The pet's owners tried breaking up the ice, but it didn't work. Rescuers found a canoe from a neighbor and used it to pull the dog out of the pond. The dog was safely reunited with its family. It's time now for our pet of the day. This is Tyrion. Tyrion is a 10-year-old neutered male. He was adopted from the Wake County SPCA in 2016 as a puppy and has come back 10 years later because his owner passed away. He is full grown at 78 pounds. He loves belly rubs and rump scratches. He's been great with kids and is a gentle giant. Tyrion's adoption fee is waived, which includes his neuter, microchip, vaccines, and other wellness care. You can find out more at spcawake.org. Today on WRAL News at 4, now sledding safety. Local hospitals could see an increase in injuries with this weekend's storm. What you need to know to keep your kids safe while having fun. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update coming in 30 minutes. And you can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. We hope that you have a great day. Stay safe, and we'll keep you updated on this winter storm.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.